This is the opensource.club, a free St. Louis-focused knowledge share podcast. Through industry experts, entrepreneurs, personal stories, and more, we provide the information you need to achieve and thrive. Always visit our website, theopensource.club, for more details. Contact us on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn.
We all know that the unemployment rate is low and that the economy is booming, yet we know that nearly 50% of working Americans are forced to work multiple jobs just to pay for the basics, if you think about it. Economic Hardship Director Alyssa Quartz says that living middle class is 30% more expensive today than it was 20 years ago. Imagine. Wages haven't kept up, and people are struggling. Today's Money Mondays by the opensource.club is about blue labor and why it has the potential to be a financial windfall for some. I'm your host, Bonita Cornute, and this show is produced in partnership with the Labor Tribune.
As a proud supporter of the men and women who make this country great, Chuck's Boots is proud to offer the largest selection of American-made, union-made work boots in the Midwest. Over 70,000 pairs of boots in stock every day. Stop by today and see why Chuck's is the only place to go for all your work boot needs. Chuck's Boots, located in Fenton and St. Peters, Missouri.
Chuck's Boots never leave my feet.
My guest today is the Tarleton Corporation's Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Dirk Elsperman. He's here with us. Elsperman is a 30-year company veteran. He worked his way up, starting as a carpenter apprentice. As Tarleton's Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Elsperman supports project teams in safety and risk management, construction technology, project planning, training, education, labor relations, and investments. Now that's a full plate if you think about it. Tarleton is a St. Louis-based general contracting and construction management company. The company's been in existence since 1949. It is a privately held, women-owned construction business with $200 million in revenue and 350 employees. Dirk, that's a major undertaking. Welcome.
Thank you, Bonita. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
That's wonderful. We're glad that you had the time. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about the trades industry, and knowing that you come from a company that is just booming. We see the name all over the city. This St. Louis-based company is a leader in construction and contracting as well as a WBEN certified women's business enterprise. Tell us a little bit about the corporation's core. What is it that motivates and guides the mission?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, we've been in business since the 1940s, and we're a family business. So that's first and foremost one of our core values is whether it's my family that's been involved in 3 generations. We have 4 families that have been involved 3 generations wise at Tarleton, and countless 2-generation families. I've lost count of how many fathers and sons or daughters have worked at the company over the years. So, that's probably first and foremost, is that we do look at it as a family business. We've pretty much focused our work in St. Louis. We always have something going on outside of St. Louis, but I think another big core value is involvement in our community. And beyond that, it's been a very important aspect of a healthy St. Louis is a prosperous St. Louis, and so that's where we put a lot of our energy in.
Well, you talk about working on projects here in St. Louis. What are some of the most recognized? I see the signs everywhere.
Yeah, construction's awesome because you do. A company like Tarleton does so many different types of projects, and sometimes we're doing projects where you're seeing the signs on the street corners, and sometimes we're doing these projects where we're tucked back and you'll never see where we are. One of the fun things, though, is at the end of the day, you can always say, hey, this is what we were able to accomplish. So if you're driving your family around, you want to say, hey, this is what Tarleton worked on. You can go into Forest Park and you can see the addition to the art museum. You can see the new Muni stage. Years ago, we worked at the zoo and built the Penguins and Puffins and the Carousel and the Enchanted Forest section. Did the North Campus renovations that they had there. That was a few years ago.
All fun places for sure.
A blast. We've done a lot of work with Washington University over the years. Currently working in the Cortex area, which to me is one of the most exciting areas that's happening in St. Louis. You can drive down Interstate 64 and see St. Louis Community College has a new health care building that we're
I've seen
finishing.
I've seen it. Yes, and I know all of those other locations. I see them on a regular basis, but didn't necessarily associated with your company. But all beautiful.
Yeah.
As you describe those locations, I'm thinking about my reaction when I saw them. I'm thinking, ooh, that's pretty nifty. I like the way that looks. It fits the neighborhood, and that would always strike me.
Thanks. Yeah, sometimes the beauty of construction is also that we've done a whole bunch of work, and at the end of the day, you don't even know that we were there.
Oh.
So
really?
We do a lot of concrete restoration work. So we go in and we'll work and we'll repair a parking structure. Okay. And at the end of the day, hopefully it looks better than what we started with, but it pretty much looks the same. Or sometimes we're working on a manhole project, and all you have to see at the end of the day is a manhole, but you've got a ton of work underneath there. So that's you can find joy in a lot of different things that we do in construction.
How far do you reach?
Home for us is eastern half of Missouri, southern and central Illinois. We do work. We've pretty much the Midwest is where we're comfortable working. We've worked in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Chicago area, up in Michigan, Indiana, Kansas, Nebraska. So, a lot places that are within a drive of pretty easy to get to from St. Louis.
Where in Wisconsin? I'm from Milwaukee.
Really?
Yes.
So I have Wisconsin in me.
No kidding.
I do. My mom grew up in Milwaukee. And as a kid, my grandparents had a farm in Hartford. So I spent all my summers up in the Milwaukee, Hartford area.
Really?
When they had their farm, Hartford wasn't much of a suburb of Milwaukee. Now it is.
Yes. That's right.
And so we've done some concrete restoration work in Milwaukee and also in Madison.
Madison, I'm a graduate. I'm a Badger.
Oh, really?
Yes. Oh, okay. We've got to get back to the conversation. Let's talk about the blue-collar labor pool.
Sure.
We know that it's in crisis, and baby boomers, skilled trades professionals, they're going to be retiring here in record numbers. So we have to think about what happens once they're gone. To offset that, Tarleton, your company works with unions, general contractors, and high schools. Can you give us some details about these outreach efforts and give us a little bit of a description of your successes? Sure.
And you're exactly right. We are in the construction industry, and in general, the whole workforce development issue is probably the largest issue that we're dealing with across the country. And one of the things that I work at Tarleton, but my volunteer job right now is as the national president for the Associated General Contractors of America, which is our trade association, covers 89 chapters across the country from Hawaii to Puerto Rico. So I get a chance to see these issues not just in St. Louis, but what other contractors are doing across the country. And, I have to say that in every meeting that I go to, we're talking about workforce and what we need to be doing. And then we've got a social issue. I'm never really related to this because I grew up in construction. It's all I ever wanted to do. But not everybody looks at construction as a favorable industry. I've had friends of mine who, in trying to motivate their teenage kid to say, what are you going to be, a ditch digger? It's like, well, if you're not real motivated, I'm not sure you're really qualified to be a ditch digger.
Exactly.
That's kind of what we're trying to focus on in our workforce development activities. One of the coolest things that we've got going on right now is up at it's called the Career Resource Center. And it's on a Siteman Cancer Center project that we're building on the old Christian Hospital Northwest site. And we had been thinking about how we could do some outreach up there. You know, it's right on the border of Ferguson, Florissant area, a place that needs a little more push on, hey, what's possible out there? And so we set up, in conjunction with BJC, they asked us, how would we do outreach in the area? And we converted one of our construction trailers, outfitted with a classroom and some individual technology stations, where kids can come in and learn about not just construction, but also healthcare jobs.
Yes.
So it's kind of a joint venture between construction and healthcare. And we've gotten a lot of great cooperation from the unions who bring in representatives. Now, we're pretty much done for the season. We were doing outreach to different schools, and so those schools would bring in their students. I think we had over 350 students come through. They would get a little presentation in the trailer.
Beautiful. And
then James Tillman, who is our superintendent on the job, would give them a tour. And then BJC would have a representative give them a tour of the healthcare facilities there. So, you just don't know where you're going to touch folks.
But what you describe is probably perfect for young people because they don't know what they want. They really don't. And if they haven't been exposed, I mean, they'll say, oh, I want to be a policeman, but truly have no clue what it takes. They say, I want to be a doctor. But until you really talk to someone in that profession, you don't understand it. And then unless you see someone working in construction, you don't understand the benefits of that and the impact on a community to see it build up from the ground, to that finished product.
And in construction, in particular, you could look at a job, and if you're really not in tune with what it is, there's 100 people working there, but you don't realize that each of them have different skills and different trades. And the electrician is doing something completely different than the equipment operator, than the sheet metal worker, than the carpenter. There's specialties within a construction project that the Construction Resource Center really kind of helped folks understand that, maybe, I'm a better fit for being a general laborer because I like doing a little bit of everything. Yeah. I've always wondered how to wire lights and how to make them work. So, an electrician is a good route for it.
Wonderful. I think about the project over at WashU. I'm responding to your point about all of the different entities working at that one construction site. When I look at that expansion at WashU, it's like a symphony. Everyone's going in the right direction. It's going to look good when they finish. But as I sit back at the stoplight watching all the trucks and the people and this and okay, he must do bricks. I think that looks like somebody who might paint. It all comes together nicely.
You are exactly right. And I've used that term symphony. Sometimes it's a ballet.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like a football play. However you want to describe it, it takes...
Choreographed.
It is incredibly choreographed. It's incredibly team-oriented.
Absolutely. And to be on that team, I would think that you might need to expand your labor pool, if you think about it, in terms of reaching out to underserved groups and immigrants. You know, do you look at that?
Well, we do. There they're all part of us trying to attract folks to this wonderful world of construction. The areas of our community that we haven't historically done a good job of reaching out to, and we can debate why that's happened.
Yeah.
But if you look at the demographics, our construction as a whole is about 85 in round numbers. It's about 85% white males, about 11% African American males, and then about 4% women.
I was thinking maybe 2%.
And it's there's lots of reasons, but we need to do a better job of that. That said, that's not the sole answer, because we've got the same issues that the accountants are having, the airline pilots are having.
Yes.
So we're all fighting over a finite resource.
Yes.
But construction, I think, has an advantage on that, because it is, I think it's a great gateway job creator.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
Gateway job creator?
Because if you can graduate from high school and get involved in an apprenticeship program, you can start learning money right away while you're learning.
Interesting, because that sort of rolls into what I was thinking about. Say I'm a parent of a high school student, and this student is excellent in math and has a really bright future. Why should my child consider working in the skills trade industry? I mean, you're talking about getting them ready, that youth component.
Yeah, so I think it's important that everybody gets through high school. A lot of our labor unions, their apprenticeship programs require either a high school degree or a GED. Sometimes you can test out of that, but I think that once you're graduated from high school, you've got a number of opportunities. So much of what we've been seeing over the years of, the ideal deal is to go straight into four-year college, and that's not for everybody. If you like teamwork, if you like thinking on your feet, if you like creating things from separate parts and pieces, math is, and you're good at math. Math is probably, you got to have some basic math skills, because a lot of construction is, whether it's doing the actual math or just figuring out the problem, the puzzle, how to put all these things together. There's a lot of relationships to those skills. And you're not quite ready for college, or maybe you don't have the funds to go to college. You can get into an apprenticeship program, and you will get paid while you're going through your apprenticeship program.
Sure. Well, the other role play scenario I was thinking about is, let's say I'm a 30-year-old office worker. My annual salary is only $38,000. That equates to about $18 an hour, but I'm still struggling. I've gotten basically an apartment, which costs me about $1,300 a month. I drive a very inexpensive car. That payment is about $199. Utilities and food killing me to the tune of at least $500. Now I've got that student loan debt. I haven't gotten to car insurance or the cell phone, internet, child care expenses or medications. Every month I'm flat broke. Could I do better in a skilled labor job?
I think if you're in that scenario, you definitely can. You probably, if you were to say, okay, fine, I got to make a change. You're stuck in this dead-end job that doesn't seem to have any upside, and you want to get involved in an apprenticeship program and start learning a trade. It's a great way to go. But the beauty of construction is that you're only limited to your initiative, by your own initiative. by the time that carpenter that's making $19 an hour becomes a journeyman, they're making almost $39 an hour. Plus, they're getting benefits, whether they're health care benefits, pension or annuities. There's training that goes in there. There's continuing education training. And electricians are making close to $40 an hour. Laborers make about $33 an hour. Laborers don't require quite as much as an in-depth apprenticeship program, but they still have a good, strong training program. Operating engineers, we're making similar. All down the line. All these trades are making really good, solid wages, and I think as long as you're willing to put the time in, improve your skills all the way along, not stop when you're an apprentice, work productively with the rest of the folks on the team, the sky's the limit.
Sounds like a good lesson for young people to take heed to. Perfect time for us to take a break. After this message, let's talk about how a person can get a job at Tarleton.
If your saving for retirement strategy involves the phrase, "I'll get around to it someday," we need to talk. Hi, I'm Edward Jones Financial Advisor, Stephen Steele. When it comes to meeting your goals, time can be on your side. And there's no better time than now to get started toward your retirement goals. Stop by our office at 6451 Clayton Road or call 314-721-0773. Edward Jones, Making Sense of Investing, member SIPC.
We need to talk a little bit about the skill set that a person might need in order to be employed at Tarleton. What is the employment process?
Well, the fun thing about a company like Tarleton and just about all of our competitors and other companies is that construction companies offer a wide variety of jobs. I know we're focused on the skilled trades, but we have folks that are graphic design oriented people. We have accountants. We have HR professionals. We have coordinators that keep everybody in line. There's just such a wide variety of opportunities in a construction company. But I think if you're really focused on wanting to get involved in the trades and working at Tarleton, we do have an interview process where you come in, you will fill out an application. You typically have had to graduate from high school. You'll have an interview process with our workforce manager, and she has a certain set of questions. If you have not, just to see how, what your makeup is, how you're, if we think that you're a good fit, and again, we're looking for folks that, first and foremost, show up to work on time, and show up on a regular basis, that we can count on them being a good member of the team. And then, if you've had zero experience, then Becky might put you into a shadowing situation and say, okay, well, I understand, okay, this is what an operator does, this is what a laborer does, this is what a carpenter does, type of, or an iron worker, cement finisher, those are the trades that we hire.
Okay.
We would go through the interview process. Of course, you have to take a drug test, and then we would work with you to see about getting you a letter of intent to then go through the pre-apprenticeship program for a labor union. And that would then give you some basic skills so that you're not coming out on the job and we really want you to be safe out on the job. So,
Absolutely.
That's the pre-apprenticeship program is really where we've tried to focus on making sure that you understand all the hazards on the job and what could go wrong, and so you're prepared for that as well.
And from that, you then would be hired as a
first-term apprentice. Depending, each trade's a little bit different, and then depending on how they're set up, you would either go to a class in the evening. You would go to class on a Friday. You might take a week off from Tarleton and do your classes that way. Kind of depends on the different apprenticeship programs. They all work a little bit differently. Okay. And once you've completed enough on the job hours and enough of the skill sets, then you go to the next level of apprenticeship. Oh. So typically there's 8 levels of apprenticeship. And each level of apprenticeship that you get to, you get a bump in pay. Mm-hmm. And again, it typically takes about 4 years to get through all of that. And that's when you get to the final level of your pay, and then again you're not limited by what the labor contract says. You're only limited by your own initiative as far as where you go from there.
Sounds like it's just like a 4-year college program. I mean, you're
very similar, and you're getting paid.
And you're getting paid in the process.
And you're learning a skill.
Yes.
That you can transfer to home.
To fix the cabinets.
Exactly. Hang the pictures. Fix that doorknob that's never worked quite right.
I got you.
Fix your patio.
Uh-huh.
All these things that are real life skills that you can earn while you're learning them. It's to me, it's a no-brainer.
Through apprentice programs, as you've described, an individual can gain immediate experience. Skilled labor professionals are paid well, as you've already described, and according to U.S. News and World Report, an entry-level metal fabricator makes $52,000 a year. Now, that's $14,000 more than the typical office job that we talked about in our role play scenario. Something to think about. Up next is information about opportunities.
As a proud supporter of the men and women who make this country great, Chuck's Boots is proud to offer the largest selection of American-made, union-made work boots in the Midwest. Over 70,000 pairs of boots in stock every day. Stop by today and see why Chuck's is the only place to go for all your work boot needs. Chuck's Boots, located in Fenton and St. Peters, Missouri.
Chuck's Boots never leave my feet.
As baby boomers retire, opportunities await millennials and Generation Z. There is a huge demand for metal fabricators, welders, plumbers, carpenters, and more. Given that the trades are always in demand, job security is strong. This has been a Blue Labor episode in partnership with the Labor Tribune. Visit our website, theopensource.club, for more show segments. Click subscribe and get new shows in your inbox. Thank you, Dirk Elsperman, for your time. We thank you for being here. We also want to thank our audience for listening. I'm your host, Bonita Cornute.
Thank you for listening to the OpenSource.club podcast. Become a subscriber through RSS or YouTube. There's more to come that you won't want to miss. Our name is our web address, theopensource.club.